Good day, ladies and gentlemen. So, this is a fresh experience. I'm actually still feeling this inside of myself. So, the current situation of my life is that my family is in, well, really three different places because we had to move out of the house we were living in extremely abruptly. I'm talking in less than a week because things got to a point where we didn't feel safe being there anymore. And so my wife and daughter are down in one city. I'm here working, sending money back and building up our finances again. So much has happened since the start of this year. And then we got most of our other stuff over in a storage unit, so we're kind of separated in three different locations, right? I'm 2 hours and 8 minute drive away from them. And, today, what I do is, currently building a luxury seasonal home. And if you can see, we're still building the foundation. The weather isn't exactly ideal for doing the ICF at the moment. Pardon my technical jargon. Honestly, I'd have worked in this, fuck. It's not that bad. It's supposed to get really bad. Anyways, I'm getting kind of off the point. The point is that, during the week, I'm no longer with my family. And that alone is hard enough, not being able to see my daughter every day and my wife every day. So every weekend, every Friday, we usually get off at 4, an hour early. And, I'll come home, I'll slam a quick dinner, take a shower, get the dog, get the stuff, and then just head out down there. And this time I couldn't do that. Because the tires on my truck don't have enough grip for this kind of weather. There's some old winter tires. I haven't gotten a new set yet. Honestly didn't think I needed a new set until today when I could barely get out of a flat driveway covered in snow that had been snowplowed. And a really valuable lesson is still kind of appearing inside of me, and I got inspired to come and do this because I know so many of us deal with disappointment, especially men trying to take care of their families. We're always doing our best, regardless of who you are, whether you're a man or whether you're a woman. Everybody, even the worst of us, so to speak, we're all doing the best that we can with what we know how to do. And as hard as we might try, as much effort as we might put in, sometimes things just don't work out the way that you want them to. I really wanted to see my daughter and my wife today, and I really wanted, because I'm off even earlier now, right? We had a whole plan, and I was going to be able to see them for longer and pick up this thing of treats from this special place that we usually went to when we used to live in the other city that we had to move away from. But now that fades away, that possibility, because I certainly don't feel safe enough trying to force myself out of here and then driving through the winter until I get some new tires for the truck. And so, now there's this disappointment that I feel. There's a feeling of letting down my family that I feel. And as much as it sucks that I'm not going to be able to go and see them this weekend, there's no reason I need to hang on to this feeling. Even though the circumstances are that I only get to see them once a week, that is no validation for making myself suffer emotionally. There's no validation for any of you guys, any of you women, to suffer emotionally and continue forcing yourself essentially into that position of suffering emotionally. The only way that you can ever truly move on from your past, the only way that you can truly heal from your past, the only way that you can right your wrongs is if you forgive yourself first. And the only way that you can forgive yourself for what you've done, what's been done to you, whatever, and yes, even what's been done to you, oftentimes we take on a victimhood mentality, and we must forgive ourselves and liberate ourselves from victimhood first before we can forgive the other person who has done wrong to us. So to let go of the emotion, you must forgive yourself. Even if it's something that's out of control, we still blame ourselves. And we don't need to. You don't need to suffer emotionally. The experience has happened. Look at it in all of its glory. Draw all the lessons you can from it. Absorb the wisdom. And transform that energy back into balance. Otherwise, you're perpetuating an existence where you want to suffer. Because if you're not going to choose to transmute the energy, then you're choosing a reality of suffering. And you don't deserve that. You deserve to let it go. And that's what this video is really all about, I guess. Is letting go of what's out of your control. Realizing that it's okay. And making sure that you do go ahead and handle your emotional state, because, you know, my wife is obviously very upset too. I'm letting down my daughter as well. She's going to be really upset. And my wife had plans to go to this place she's wanted to see for her pretty much her whole life. And, you know, I was supposed to be there to take care of our daughter so that she could go with her mom to go see it. And now she's not going to be able to do that. And even so, even with something so important, it's no reason to force myself to suffer emotionally. No matter what it is that's on your plate over there, it's no reason to force yourself to suffer emotionally. And it's okay to let it go. And I know there's this strange guilt sometimes that will overcome us, like, well, I should feel bad. I should feel terrible about this. And, you know, then we think, you know, I deserve to suffer because I've done this. Well, fine. You know, oftentimes when we make a mistake, we will feel the pain, the emotional consequence of whatever that mistake was. And there's a lot to be said as well, though, of whether or not you even need to experience that. Different conversation. But, you know, basically, when something like this happens, you have a choice now. No matter how severe it is, you have a choice now. Do I want to continue to suffer, or do I want to let this go so that I can clear my emotional state of any residual guilt, shame, anger, frustration, whatever it is, so that you can then come back to your family, you can come back to the people in your life, not as somebody who is weak and clinging to a victimhood mentality. You're somebody who is coming back stronger than you once were, because you've taken the responsibility on to transform the experience into a valuable lesson. This is a valuable lesson for me in responsibility. This is something that I should have had figured out beforehand. Why didn't I know that the truck needed new tires, and why weren't the tires replaced? That's something for me to explore now. I'm not going to put that on the weather. Ultimately, I need to claim responsibility for the fact that it would have been possible for me to drive, because other people's vehicles can make it through this, but not mine. So, accountability for both the mistake that was made and my lack of responsibility. Because ultimately, I want to take the best care of my family that I possibly can. Ultimately, I want to be the best leader for them. I want to be the best leader for myself. And with what I want to accomplish in the world, I cannot be a man who isn't responsible and forethinking. So now I have the privilege, now I have the opportunity to go ahead and learn from this, to sit in meditation, to take on the perspective of my daughter, to take on the perspective of my wife, and feel empathetically the emotions that they might be experiencing because of my absence this weekend. And I do believe that that's an essential part of the healing process. Not to just deal with how you feel, but to consider as truly as you can the emotions of others and how, whether out of your control or not, these things impact others. And it truly helps, I find. Hopefully this will help you too. If you take on the perspective of everything being energy, imagine that you have this idea for your life, right? Of how you want it to turn out. And over this way, there's the life that you want. Over this way, there's a life that you don't want. And here you are right now. Now the things that you want to create for your life over here, the greatest life you could possibly imagine, only exists with a specific version of you being the one to have achieved this life. Meaning that you cannot become a millionaire until you've got the foundational knowledge of how to manage your money. Oh yeah, and people could say, well, you could inherit $1 million, you could this, you could that, whatever. Well, why don't you look at people who win the lottery, people who inherit money? Shit, there's stories of, I forget this one woman, she was the wife of some billionaire or some multi-millionaire who inherited all of his money after he died, and she went completely broke because she did not know the first thing about managing her money and the assets that she possessed now. But the general idea, you cannot become the millionaire you want to be if you do not become the version of you who is able to handle the responsibilities of having that kind of life. Now, how do you become that version of you? Well, imagine that in this situation, imagine if I just decided to sulk all weekend. Imagine if I decided to beat myself up and hate myself for not having been responsible to know about the truck. And I let the weight of my family's emotions weigh me down. Imagine I did that instead of transforming the energy back into lessons, wisdom, positivity, balance. Well, then I'd be veering off over here. I'd be dysregulating my harmony, and I'd be feeding into a life of victimhood. A life where I'm not the creator of my reality in the sense of where I can achieve anything I want to. I'm then creating a reality where I'm weak, where I'm incapable of being who I want to be. You see, because it's all energy. The outcome of your life is directly proportionate to the state of being that you experience within yourself. So now, if I want to create that life, then not only must I return to balance, but I must then learn the lessons and exist in the energy of this version of me over here. And the only way that I can do that is to now take this experience, transform the energy back into balance, and then take the wisdom and allow it to carry me on further. Now I know, okay, what can I do to solve this issue, this problem, whatever you want to call this situation? And now I have a roadmap moving forward, you see, because once I've transformed the energy, and you could not transform the energy and still do the same thing, but take a look at it like this. If I transform the energy, my new perspective of going ahead and getting the new tires is going to be one of, now I'm accomplishing the responsibility of that future version of me who has the reality that I want in the future. Versus if I stay in the victimhood, well, then I'm buying the truck, then I'm taking on the responsibility of fixing the truck out of a victimhood mentality, meaning that's the energy that I'm choosing to move forward into the future with, to handle that responsibility out of victimhood. Do you see what I'm saying? There's no sense to it. Or at least it's just not beneficial if you really want to live the best life that you can. You've got to forgive yourself, experience the consequence of the empathetic emotions, learn from all angles, and move forward through love. At least this is how I see it. I think I'm just about good there. Thank you for listening.